The grand court of Valerie Prime was filled with light and sound. Its tall crystal walls shimmered as nobles in glowing robes gathered to hear the queen's speech. The air buzzed with music, laughter, and the quiet hum of floating chandeliers. All eyes were on the royal station till the giant. Doors opened. Everyone turned. 2 figures stepped into the hall. One was instantly known. Princess Kalira, heir to the Valari throne. She walked with her chin high, her silver crown reflecting. Starlight. Her pale blue skin and shining eyes showed her royal blood. But beside her was someone ... different. He was tall, broad, and dressed in worn battle armor. His skin was light brown, hair dark and messy, and a long scar ran across his cheek. His boots clanked against the crystal floor. He looked straight ahead, calm and confident. A human. Gasps filled the room. Nobles whispered, stunned. A human here? In the palace? Beside the princess? At the center of the court, sitting on a throne made of starlight metal, the queen herself stood up. High Matron Selvani, ruler of Valerie Prime, narrowed her eyes. Who is this outsider? The queen asked in a cold voice. Why does he walk beside my daughter as an equal? Lyra's voice was clear and proud. He is not an outsider. She said, he is my bonded. He is the human I married. The room exploded into noise. Cries of shock, anger, and disbelief filled the air. Some nobles shouted in protest. Others stared, frozen in place. The guards tensed, unsure if they should draw weapons or wait. The queen raised one hand, and silence fell like a wave. You married a human? She said slowly, her voice sharp. Without council approval? Without ceremony? This is not our way. Kalira took a step forward. We married under the old stars, before gods and kings. It is a choice bond, sacred and legal. I followed the law. The queen's face showed no emotion. The law does not cover unions with primitives. At that, the human finally spoke. I am Captain Elias Thorne, Terran Defense Forces, retired. He said in a deep voice, I may be human, Your Majesty, but I am no primitive. I have fought in wars across 5 systems, saved lives from 3 different species, and once protected one of your own when no one else would. The queen raised an eyebrow. And now you think you can walk into my court beside my daughter? Like a prince? Elias didn't flinch. No, Your Majesty. I walk beside her as her partner. Nothing more, nothing less. Silence followed. The queen's fingers tapped on the throne's edge. Everyone waited. Then the queen said calmly, You may both explain yourselves. But no, this court will not be disrespected. You bring fire into a house of light. Kalira nodded. Then let me tell the truth. The scene shifted, and Kalira began to speak. Her voice was steady as she told their story. Months ago, she had been sent to the border world Signar 4 for a peace mission. But the mission went wrong, her ship crashed, and she was left stranded in wildlands. The planet was untamed, full of strange creatures and toxic storms. She was alone until she found him. Elias had also crashed there. His team was gone. He was injured, but still alive. The 2 of them met as enemies. She pointed a blade at his chest, held a blaster at her head. But both were tired, bleeding, and far from home, to survive. They had to work together. Kalira told of how they built a shelter, shared food, and fought off beasts that hunted in the dark. She spoke of how he taught her human jokes, and she taught him star maps of her people. Days became weeks. They began to trust each other. And then one night, under the twin moons of Signar 4, they stood together on a cliff, looking at the stars. He said he would die for her. She said she would live for him. They made the bond that night. I did not lose my honor, Kalira said. I found it in him. Back in the court, the nobles were silent now. Even the queen looked thoughtful. Still, some whispered. One noble, Lord Voshter, stepped forward. Your Majesty, with respect, he said. The princess has risked the purity of our bloodline. What if this is a trick? A trap? Humans are known for clever lies. Elias stepped forward. I didn't come here to rule, he said. I came here because I love Kalira, that's all. I don't want your crown, your power, or your throne. I want peace. He turned to the queen. Let me prove myself, not by words but by action. Let me earn my place here." The queen looked at him for a long time. Finally, she spoke. "Very well," she said. "You may remain for now. Know this, Captain Thorn. If you bring danger to my daughter or this kingdom, I will end you myself." Elias nodded. "Fair enough, your majesty." Kalira stood, tall beside him. The two looked unshaken, united, and as the court slowly returned to order, one thought echoed in many minds. Who is this human? Really? Whispers spread like wildfire across Valari Prime. The royal court was still in shock after Princess Kalira's bold words. A princess had married a human without permission, without a royal council, and without the queen's blessing. Some nobles were angry. Some were afraid. Others were curious. Who was this captain, Elias Thorn? And why would the princess give her heart to a human? In the high towers of the palace, the queen called a private council. Only the most trusted nobles were present, sitting in a circle of floating chairs around the glowing court table. "This matter is more serious than we thought," said Lord Vashtor. "The people are asking questions. Some even support this human. He's dangerous," added Lady Tanari. "He could be a spy or a soldier sent to weaken us." Queen Selvani raised her hand. "We will not act without truth," she said, calmly. "Let him speak for himself. Let us understand who this man really is." Down below, in the royal guest chambers, Elias stood by a tall window, looking at the stars outside. He had never seen a planet like Valari Prime. The skies shimmered with green light. Flying creatures moved between towers. The air was warm and smooth like silk, but he knew it wasn't home. Behind him, Kalira entered the room. She smiled softly. "You're quiet." "I'm thinking," Elias said, "about how many people want me gone." "They don't know you like I do," she replied. Elias turned to her. "I don't need them to love me. Just trust me a little." "It will," Kalira said. "In time." Later that day, Elias stood before the royal council. He wore clean, formal armor given by the palace. His posture was straight, his voice calm. Around him sat alien leaders in glowing robes, judging every word. "Captain Thorn," the queen began, "tell us your story." "From the beginning," Elias nodded once. "I was born on Earth, in a city called New Chicago," he began. "Worked on space engines. My mother taught kids how to read. I joined the military when I turned 16, not because I loved war, but because Earth needed people to defend our worlds." He told them of the Terran Defense Forces, how humans had spread to many planets, always surviving, always adapting. He fought pirates, defended colonies, and once saved a transport ship from crashing by manually steering it through an asteroid storm. Then he spoke about Signer 4. "It was supposed to be a routine mission," Elias said. "I was leading a team to check for lost tech from old wars. We were shot down, my crew. They didn't survive. I was the only one left." He paused, eyes clouded. Even the nobles grew silent. "That's where I met Princess Kalira," he said. "She was also stranded. At first we didn't trust each other. We were enemies. But day by day that changed." The room dimmed slightly as Kalira stepped forward. "I want to tell you the rest," she said, "because you deserve to know the truth." She described how the wild lands of Signer 4 were full of danger. Storms could tear through steel. Beasts hunted at night. Poisonous plants grew. Underfoot, they had only each other. Elias had built a fire, shared food. He showed her how to use her tools to filter water. When she fell and cut her arm, he carried her for miles. "I saw the strength of a human," she said. "More than that, Ty. Saw his heart." She told how they fought side by side against a rock serpent, how they laughed in the rain, how Elias once risked his life to save a baby creature stuck in a hole, just because it was alive and afraid. "We were alone, far from home," Kalira said, "but we were never lonely. We found something rare, trust, and with time, love." Council was silent for a long time. Then the queen spoke again. "This may be truth," she said, "but law is not made by feelings. The people must be protected. The throne must remain strong. She looked at Elias. If I let you stay, if I let this union stand, you must prove your loyalty not just to Kalira but to the kingdom. Elias stepped forward. Name it, he said. The queen's eyes narrowed. You will face trials, tests of wisdom, strength, and heart. Only then will I allow your marriage to be honored by Valari law. Elias nodded. I accept. Kalira looked worried. They won't be easy. I didn't marry you for easy, Elias said, smiling. I married you for forever. Far away in the dark corners of the royal city, someone watched the scene through a hidden screen. A tall figure in black robes leaned back, his face hidden. So, the human survives, he said quietly. Let's see how long that lasts. He pressed a button. In the shadows, an assassin began to move. Night fell over Valari Prime, casting silver light across the crystal towers. The palace glittered like a star caught in glass. But inside, shadows moved silently, hiding danger in a dark hallway above the royal chambers. A figure crept with quiet steps. Dressed in tight black armor, the assassin's face was hidden under a smooth silver mask. In one hand, he held a curved blade made of bone steel. It could cut through almost anything. His target was clear. Captain Elias Thorne, the human. Elias stood alone on a balcony, looking at the stars. The night sky here was beautiful, filled with colors he'd never seen back on Earth. He breathed slowly. Even after all he had been through, this place still made him feel like an outsider, but he was not afraid. Footsteps approached behind him. Elias turned. It was Kalira. She wore a soft robe, her silver eyes glowing in the dark. Couldn't sleep either? She asked. He smiled. Not exactly. There's too many nobles watching me like I'm a bomb. They're afraid, she said, afraid of change. They should be, Elias said with a wink. Change is coming. Kalira laughed quietly. But the moment didn't last. Suddenly, a silent alarm flickered on her bracelet. A red dot blinked near their location. Someone's in the palace. She whispered. At that same moment, a black figure dropped from above the assassin. The blade sliced through the air toward Elias's back. Kalira screamed. But Elias moved faster. He spun around, catching the assassin's arm with both hands. The blade scraped across his armor, cutting through the first layer. Sparks flew. He kicked the attacker away. The assassin landed like a cat and came back fast. Elias dodged, grabbed a fallen metal rod from the balcony wall, and used it to block. The next strike, Kalira activated her emergency beacon. Guards would come. But too slowly. This fight was up to Elias. The assassin was trained. He used acrobatic moves, spinning and slicing without speaking. But Elias had seen worse in the Terran Wars. He stayed calm, dodging attacks, looking for weakness. One strike cut Elias's arm. Blood ran down, but Elias didn't stop. With a roar, he slammed the rod into the assassin's side. The masked man staggered back, just for a moment, but it was enough. Elias grabbed him, twisted, and threw him over the balcony rail. The assassin hit a roof, ballooned, vanished into the dark. Minutes later, royal guards stormed the area. Medical. Drones arrived, scanning Elias. The queen herself came, wearing a deep blue cloak. Her eyes landed on the blood on Elias's arm. What happened? She demanded. Kalira spoke first. An assassin tried to kill him. He fought alone. He protected me. The queen looked at Elias. For the first time, her voice softened. You were injured for her? Elias nodded. I didn't think. I just moved. You didn't have to, she said quietly. I did, he replied, because I love her. Later that night, the queen met with her private guards. This was not random, she said. This was planned. Should we cancel the royal trial? One guard asked. No, she said. We continue as planned, but we must find who sent the assassin. At the edge of the city, in an old hidden building, the masked assassin knelt before a dark figure. It was Lord Vashtor, the noble who had spoken out against Elias in the royal court. You failed, Vashtor hissed. The assassin stayed silent. No matter, the Lord said. We moved to the next plan. The queen still believes she can control. This? She's wrong. He looked out the window, toward the palace lights. If this human passes the trials, we lose everything. We must make sure he fails. The next day, Elias stood in front of the queen again. Her eyes held a new respect. You fought well, she said. Some of my best guards would not have lasted against that assassin. I wasn't alone, Elias said. Calera warned. Me. You protected her, the queen said. That matters. She paused. But now, you must face the first trial. Elias nodded. I'm ready. The queen stood. Your first trial will not be with weapons. It will be with words. He frowned slightly. You will stand before the people's circle, the queen said. You will answer their questions, their fears. If you lie, the stones will know. You speak truth, they will listen. When? Elias asked. Tomorrow, she replied. Calera came to his side, holding his hand. You've faced worse than this, she said. Yes, Elias said. But this time, I have something to fight for. That night, word spread across Valari Prime. The human had survived an assassination attempt. Some saw him as a hero. Others called it luck. Few whispered that he was protected by old fate, but no one could deny one truth now. Captain Elias Thorne was no ordinary human. The next morning, the skies above Valari Prime were filled with golden clouds. The great bells of the palace rang, calling the people to the people's circula, sacred space where truth was tested and voices were heard. Captain Elias Thorne stood in the center of the wide circle. Around him, thousands of Valari citizens watched from shining seats carved into the crystal walls. Floating cameras buzzed overhead, broadcasting the event across the empire. Beside Elias stood Princess Calera, her face calm but her eyes full of worry, and above them all, on a high platform, sat Queen Salvani, silent and watchful. The trial began. A council of 6 elders stepped forward. Their robes shimmered with stars and their eyes glowed softly. One elder, a woman with white eyes and no hair, spoke first. Captain Thorne, why did you come to our world? Elias stepped forward and answered in a steady voice. Came because Calera is my wife. I didn't come to take power. I came because I love her, and I will stand beside her wherever she goes. The crowd murmured. Another elder, an older male with 3 thin horns, asked, What do you want from Valari Prime? Respect, Elias replied. Not for me, but for the bond I share with your princess. I want peace between our people. I want to build something new, together. A large glowing stone beside him pulsed green, a sign of truth. The questions continued. Some were kind, some were harsh. One elder accused him of being a Terran spy. Elias stayed calm. Explained how he saved Valari colonists during a border raid, how he protected their children from pirates, and how he chose to leave. Behind a promotion just to stay with Calera, each answer made the truth stone glow green, slowly. The crowd's noise changed. Less whispering, more nodding, less narrowed in thought. Calera squeezed his hand gently. You're doing better than I expected. Thanks, Elias whispered. I've faced aliens with 4 arms and acid breath. This is still scarier. But she smiled. After the trial, the queen spoke. Captain Thorne has spoken his truth, she said. He may continue with the next trial. The people clapped softly. Some even cheered. Elias had earned something rare that day, respect from a world that feared him. But trouble was brewing elsewhere, deep in the noble halls. Lord Vashtor slammed his fist onto a table. This is getting out of control, he growled. The human was supposed to fail. Now the people like him. Beside him stood 2 other nobles, Lady Tanari and General Vorsk. Tanari whispered, Then we must move quickly. General Vorsk unfolded a digital map, showed troop movements, guard rotations, and secret tunnels under the palace. The queen is too soft, Vorsk said. She still hopes to guide the human with peace. Vashtor leaned closer. She soon regret that. The 3 shared a single goal now. Remove the queen, take control of the throne, and erase the human from history. but they needed help from outside the kingdom. That night, in her private study, Princess Kalira sat with Elias and read through ancient texts. "These are the old bond laws," she said, "written before we had space travel, before we met other species." Elias leaned over her shoulder. "And this part, here, what does it say? That any royal marriage once tested and proven must be respected. No council can undo it, not even the queen. So we win?" Kalira shook her head. "We're close. But something still feels wrong." Just then, her communication device buzzed. Hidden message appeared. "Trust no one in the council. Enemies in shadows. Proof in archives." Kalira showed Elias. "This came from someone inside the palace." "Then we find the archives," Elias said. That same night, the two of them snuck through the palace using secret halls known only to the royal bloodline. They reached the ancient archives, a cold room under the city filled with glowing data crystals. Kalira searched the royal logs. Elias hacked into a side console, fingers fast over the controls. Suddenly, they found it. A hidden file coded and buried deep. Elias used a decryption key he had picked up during the war. It took minutes, but finally, the file opened, and what they saw made their blood run cold. Messages. Secret deals. Betrayal. It was a communication link between Lord Vashtor, General Vorsk, and leaders of the Zirak coalition, a hostile alien empire. They were planning a full-scale coup. The human wasn't their only target. They wanted to overthrow the queen, take the throne, bring Valari under Zirak rule. And worse, part of their plan included blaming the human for everything. "We have to tell the queen," Elias said. "She won't believe this without proof," Kalira replied. "We need to show it to the council. Publicly." Elias nodded. "Then let's do it tomorrow? During my next trial?" Meanwhile, Lord Vashtor stood in a hidden chamber, looking at the stars. "Our plan must happen now," he said. "They're getting too close," General Vorsk agreed. "We strike tomorrow. During the second trial, we cause panic, chaos, then take control." Vashtor's eyes glowed with pride. Let the people see the human as the cause of their fall. They had no idea that Elias and Kalira were already one step ahead. Back in their room, Elias wrapped a soft cloth over Kalira's shoulders. "Are you scared?"
Yes.
"Yes," she whispered. "But with you, I feel brave." Elias smiled and gently held her hand. "Let them come. We'll face them." Together. Outside, lightning cracked. Across the sky, war was coming to Valari Prime. But so was the truth. Morning light touched the towers of Valari Prime, but the palace was not peaceful. Inside, tension filled every hallway. Soldiers prepared weapons. Security drones flew across the sky. Everyone could feel that something big was about to happen. In the royal guest quarters, Elias Thorne tightened his armored vest. His hand rested near his sidearm, though he hoped he wouldn't have to use it. Kalira stood beside him, wearing royal armor passed down by her ancestors. "Are you ready?" asked softly. Elias gave a small smile. "No, but let's go anyway." In the grand hall, the queen had gathered the court for Elias's second trial, the trial of courage. Normally, this was a test of strength or leadership in a public setting. But today, Elias had something more important to share. The room filled. With nobles, guards, and watchers from across the empire, everyone waited. Then Elias stepped forward, holding a crystal data device. "I came here for a trial," he said. "But I found something more important, the truth you all must see." He placed the device into the center console. A hologram appeared above the crowd messages, secret recordings, and communication logs. The truth flashed before them. Gasps filled the air. These are secret messages between Lord Vashtor, General Vorsk, and the Zyrak coalition, Elias said. They are planning a coup to take the throne, remove Queen Selvani, and hand Valari Prime to an enemy empire. The queen stood in shock. Is this true? She demanded. Before anyone could answer, a loud explosion rocked the palace. The floor shook. Guards shouted from outside. Ships flew down from the clouds of Iraq warships. Panic spread through the hall. The betrayal had begun at the palace gates. Armored soldiers wearing black crests attacked the royal guards. They were led by General Vorsk himself, shouting orders with cold fury. Take the throne room. Capture the queen. Kill the human. The queen's personal guards fought back bravely, but the traitors were prepared. Laser blasts lit the sky. Explosions echoed through the towers. Civilians were rushed underground. Soldiers battled across floating bridges. Inside, Elias grabbed Kalira's hand. We need to get your mother to safety now. Guards formed. A protective ring around the queen. Elias and Kalira led the group through a secret passage behind the throne. But Vashtar blocked their path. Going somewhere? He sneered. Kalira drew her sword. You will not touch my mother. You've already broken the throne with your foolish love, Vashtar said. Now we will fix it with your blood. He raised his weapon, but Elias moved faster. He tackled Vashtar, and the two fell into the hallway. They wrestled on the floor as the others rushed past. Elias blocked a punch, then landed one of his own. You never deserved her loyalty, Vashtar. Hissed. She never gave it to you, Elias replied, and knocked him unconscious with a single strike. Meanwhile, Kalira led the queen and their remaining guards through tunnels under the palace. Smoke and fire lit parts of the halls. Outside, the sky darkened as Zyrak ships blocked the sun. Above the palace, the main tower burned. Valari Prime was under siege. Back in the Grand Hall, Elias regrouped with friendly soldiers. He grabbed a fallen blaster and took command. We hold this position, he said. We don't let them take the palace core. If they reach the royal data crystal, they can erase every command the queen ever gave. The Valari soldiers, unsure at first, now looked to him with respect. What are your orders, Captain? Elias gave them a simple answer. We fight, not for a crown, but for the future. Kalira reached a command station below the palace. She sent a message to nearby star bases. This is Princess Kalira. The capital is under attack by traitors and Zyrak forces. We need reinforcements. Reply came after a pause. This is Commander Reese of the Terran Alliance. We received. Your message, human ships, are en route. Hold your ground. We're coming. Kalira's heart lifted. Elias, she whispered, you're not alone. Outside in the skies of Valari Prime, the first Terran ships arrived. Sleek black destroyers burst through the clouds, opening fire on the Zyrak attackers. The sky became a storm of color red-green, blue lasers crisscrossing the heavens. The people of Valari watched in awe. Humans, once seen as simple outsiders, had come to protect them. In the palace, Elias and his team held the Grand Hall. Smoke filled the air. Several guards were injured, but they stood tall. Suddenly, General Vorsk crashed through the wall, his armor glowing with power. I will end this myself, he growled. Elias stepped forward. Try it. They charged. Vorsk swung his energy blade. Elias ducked and struck back with a metal staff. Sparks flew. The two men clashed again and again. Elias bled from the shoulder. Vorsk's visor cracked. Finally, Elias found an opening. He grabbed Vorsk's arm, twisted it, and slammed the general onto the floor. I fight for her, Elias said, and I fight for this world. With one final hit, Vorsk was defeated. Outside, the Zyrak fleet began to fall back. Terran ships pushed them into retreat. Rebel forces surrendered as news of Vashtar and Vorsk's defeat spread. Inside the palace, the queen stepped into the light again. Bloodied but strong Valari had survived, thanks to one human who refused to give up. A new day rose over Valari Prime. The sun bathed the crystal towers in soft golden light. Smoke from the recent battle had cleared. People came out of hiding, streets were swept clean, and flags were raised once again above the palace. But the world was not the same. It was now a world that had been saved by a human. Inside the palace, Captain Elias Thorne stood in the Hall of Stars. He wore a dark, formal suit made from Valari silk. His shoulders still ached from the battle, but his heart was steady. Beside him stood Princess Caliera, dressed in ceremonial robes, her silver crown polished bright. She looked proud. She looked at him like he was more than a hero. He was her choice. Her bondmate, her future. Across the hall, nobles filled the seats once again. But this time, there was no shouting, no anger. No doubt, they had seen the truth. And they had seen Elias fight not for power. But for them, at the top of the steps, stood Queen Salvani, dressed in white and gold. Her voice rang clear and strong. People of Valari, the queen began, we have faced danger not from outside, but from within. Enemies who wore friendly faces plotted against the throne, against peace, and against our future. She looked at the gathered crowd, but we were not alone. When we stood at the edge of war, when our skies darkened, a man stepped forward. Not one of our own blood, not one born of this world, but a human who chose to protect us. She turned, her eyes to Elias. At first I asked, who is he? I now answer that question myself. She stepped down the stairs. He is Captain Elias Thorne, a soldier, a protector, and now my son. By law. The crowd clapped. Some cheered. Some wiped tears from their eyes. Elias bowed slightly. Thank you, Your Majesty. The queen nodded. You have faced trials of truth, courage, and battle. You have passed them all. I now recognize your bond with my daughter as lawful, eternal, and worthy. Caliera stepped forward. Together, we will lead not as rulers of fear, but as voices of unity. That night, a great celebration lit up the sky. Floating lanterns rose into the air, carrying wishes and blessings. Music played across the capital. People of all ranks, nobles, guards, traders, even children gathered to dance and feast. Elias walked through the crowd beside Caliera. He was greeted with smiles, pats on the back, and kind words. Human, one old vendor called, laughing. You're not so bad. You saved our queen, said a young soldier. We owe you. Elias shook hands, shared drinks, and laughed with them. For the first time, he didn't feel like an outsider. He felt at home. Later, Caliera led Elias to a quiet garden behind the palace. The stars above were bright and endless. I used to sit here as a child, she said. Wow. I never thought I'd one day share it with a human. Elias smiled. I never thought I'd fall in love with an alien princess. She leaned her head on his shoulder. Everything's changing, she whispered. Yeah, Elias said. But maybe change isn't a bad thing, she nodded. You've changed our world. And you've changed mine, he replied. The next day, leaders from other planets arrived. The Queen held a council of peace. The Terran Alliance and the Valari Empire signed an official pact of unity trade. Technology and knowledge would now flow between Earth and Valari, but more importantly, trust had begun. In her speech, Queen Salvani said, this bond between our people began not with politics, but with love. That is our strongest link. That is our future. In the months that followed, Elias was offered titles, medals, and command positions. He refused most of them. I didn't come here to rise, he said. I came here to stand beside Caliera. Steady started a joint academy, the Starbridge, institute where humans and Valari students learned side by side. They studied languages, history, and space navigation together. Caliera helped lead diplomatic missions. She became the voice of a new generation, one that believed in connection, not control. Where once she was a quiet heir to the throne, now she stood proudly as a princess of peace. Back in the palace, Queen Salvani often watched them from her tower. She had once doubted Elias. She had feared what his presence meant. But now she saw what her daughter had seen from the beginning. He was the future, One evening, during a quiet moment in the garden, the queen joined Elias and Kelliera. "I've been thinking about something," she said softly. Elias stood respectfully. "Yes, your majesty." She smiled. "You've been calling me that for too long. Call me mother if you wish." Elias blinked, surprised. Then he smiled. "I'd be honored." As the stars shined overhead, Kalira looked at her mother and her husband. She remembered the day she first met Elias, the day she held a blade to his chest and thought he was just another enemy. Now it was family. She smiled and whispered, "When you asked who he was, I told you the truth. He's the human I married." "And I now see," the queen replied with a warm smile. "He is also the man who saved us all."